a complete beginner with a little over 3 months of experience, I tried to 3D animate the most popular anime airing right now, Solo Leveling. If you've seen the episodes that I've released so far, whether you like the story or not, you can't deny that the animation is top notch. So with that kind of standard already, I'm most likely not going to meet it in terms of just raw animation ability and the visuals. But that's okay, because I'm going to recreate a scene that's not been animated yet, because then we got nothing to compare it to. The scene I'm going to try to recreate is when Sung Jin-woo fights Hwan Dong-soo around the chapter 145 in the manhwa. More specifically, I'm going to try to remake these specific panels, and hopefully make them into a decent animation. Keep in mind, I have very little experience in actual animation, and before these 3 months, I knew nothing. So trying to think of the movements that the characters will do, along with the camera movement, is still all quite new to me. Anyway, with that in mind, let's start creating this entire thing. First, I have to create the characters in these scenes. In the manhwa, the whole context of the scene is that Hwan Dong-soo took Sung Jin-woo's friend, Yoo Jin-ho, and was beating him up because he wanted to hear that Sung Jin-woo killed his brother, Hwan Dong-suk. But Yoo Jin-ho just kept refusing to tell him, W friend. Then, one of Jin-woo's shadows spots what's going on. And if you're familiar with the manhwa, you know Jin-woo has an ability called Exchange, where he can swap places with his shadows and see what's going on through their eyes. Immediately, when Jin-woo sees what's happening, he swaps places with the shadow and the fight begins. Now, in this scene, there are overall 5 characters, 2 of which are completely irrelevant. So that just leaves 3 left. And sorry Jin-ho, I'm gonna have to leave you out this time. In the end, I decided to make the 2 most key characters in the scene, Sung Jin-woo and Hwan Dong-soo. I've been practicing my modeling skills for these past 3 months, and I can say that I'm hopefully slowly starting to get better. I first created Sung Jin-woo, and I knew I had to at least make him look somewhat cool and super handsome, because he's him. But with my abilities, I don't really know if I can pull that off. After a couple of hours, I think I got an okay look. I was neither too happy with it, nor mad about it, but I just could not think of what to change to make him look better. So I just went with it. But then, I had to create Hwan Dong-soo. And if you couldn't tell, he is super jacked. And I have zero experience in sculpting muscles on a body, because that requires a lot of anatomy knowledge. That I do not have. So I tried my best by looking at references online and ended up with this result, which was okay, I guess. Luckily for both characters as well, their clothes are quite easy to make since they wear quite simple clothes. Now that both of my characters are done, which in total took me about 3 days, I moved on to the rigging portion. This is where you add bones to the characters so you can move those bones to move the character around. 3D animation. Once that was done, I started to animate my scenes, and this was going to take a while, because I have no storyboard and no references for these scenes. I am just animating whatever I think might look okay, which keep in mind is a horrible idea, but I'm also a very lazy person, nor can I really draw, so I always skip the storyboard. Anyway, since I'm recording this after finishing the video, I can tell you guys about the ideas I had in mind while animating each scene. The first scene was just a simple shot of Hwan Dong-soo getting surprised by seeing an orc in the real world, as they usually are only ever found in dungeons, so he assumes there's a nearby dungeon break. But keep in mind, this orc is Jin-woo's shadow. This scene, I really had to keep in mind the facial expressions to make him look like the angry man he always is in the manhwa. Then, for the next scene, it was just gonna be a shot of the orc standing there. Except, there's one problem. I don't have an orc, nor do I know how to make an orc. So I found a free orc model online, and obviously did not exactly look like the one from Solo Leveling, but I played around with its colors and added hair to it to hopefully make it look at least somewhat similar. The scene though was definitely the most scuffed up and worst looking scene, because the model was not prepared to be animated. Basically, when creating characters, there are steps to make it ready to be animated, which was not done for this character when I downloaded it. And I felt like the time it would take for me to make it ready to be animated would not be worth it, because it would barely move anyway in this scene. But because of that decision, then the scene looks really still, which I was not too happy about, but it'll have to do. For all the next scenes, my process was quite simple. It was mainly just using the manhwa main panels as the main poses in each of my scenes, then just putting in filler character movement and camera movement to hopefully make it look more smooth and actually add that animation aspect. And then for the scenes that like this one, where there is a bunch of stuff being destroyed, was a bit more difficult to make, but I got an okay look in the end. For the environment, I really did not feel like creating it all myself, so I was able to find an online model of a pretty low quality abandoned warehouse. In the future though, I do want to start creating my own environments that actually match the scenes more. Looking back on this now, I'm pretty disappointed that I didn't create it myself, but that's okay, because I'll make sure to start creating environments myself from here on out. Once all the scenes were finished, I was able to composite all of them in After Effects, add more lighting, the smoke, and especially the effects. It's quite apparent that not just from the manhwa, but the anime too, that in solo leveling, aura is super important. And I'm talking about actual visible aura, like with all the cool effects. And if I don't get this done right, then none of the scenes will look good. So using a lot of online assets and using some of my own effects, I was able to do some aura, which hopefully looks decent. With the final animation, there's still so much room for improvement. My animations still look pretty bad, and a lot of the time stiff. The camera movement can be so much better, my models could look more accurate, and overall, everything could just be more fluid. I also started to get really lazy nearing the end of the animation and just did not feel motivated at all to finish. But like I always say, I do these videos so I can learn and improve. I try not to spend too long on any single project because I don't have the skills yet to do that. I don't know what to put hours on end even in. Hopefully, one day though, I can do a month-long project, or even 5 months, or heck, maybe even a year, where I actually feel like I need that much time to do it. I think that's what's been the biggest reason why I spend usually only about a week or so on my projects. But I can say, with every new project I make, I'm slowly needing a bit more time than the previous. Does that mean I'm learning more? Anyway though, I hope you enjoy the final animation.
They'll be calling me,